All right, now I'm talking with Gray Hall from GK Houses. Great, glad to have you back.
Thanks, Chris. Glad to be here, man.
Yeah, so I know we missed talking about the August numbers. So we're recording this in early October. So I'm going to ask you politely for numbers for August and September, which I'm really curious to hear since, the CARES Unemployment Act ran out at the end of July. So I want to see how much of impact it made for your portfolio.
Yeah, that's been the storyline. It's always been look to next month and we'll see and look and look and look. And so we ended up very consistent. I mean, that's kind of the storyline that I would project for like delinquency is we were 97% collected for both August and for September in 2020. So we have not felt the drop off with the CARES Act running out and the additional stimulus at the end of July. So very exciting, but it's kind of, this is becoming the new normal. So I'm expecting 97%. And October, we're kind of jumping ahead, but yeah, it's been very consistent with rent collection those 2 months.
And so really, I mean, if you're at 97%, I'm assuming that's, it's hard to get much better than that.
It is, yeah.
So,
With just a large volume,
oh yeah,
97% is, a couple of houses. We've got probably 3 or 4 that have been delinquent past 30 days. And outside of that, everybody's, might have a small rolling balance of some fees, but 100% stuff. Some people do it, but I'm pretty happy with 97%.
So no major drop off going from July to August or anything?
No, it was really shocking. And I might have even expected it September. That might have when we start seeing it come through, but we really didn't see that. We haven't seen that in the numbers. And then October is just as strong. I mean, we're at 95% for October. So, and we're at the 9th of the month. So we're going to end somewhere in the 97%. We got some payment plans rolling through. So I've not seen the drop off, and across the, we manage a couple of different markets, and it's, we're collecting rent stronger than we ever have. And so it's a similar storyline, not just in Colorado, but kind of nationwide. People are valuing where they live. That's one of the bills that I'm seeing that they pay. And so even more so than last year, we're up percentage wise year over year from where we were collecting last year.
And I recall, I think, and I might be mixing some conversations here, but I think you had a couple tenants back when we talked a few months ago of people that were not paying rent and would be evicted before the eviction moratorium. Did you have a couple of those, or am I crisscrossing my messages here or my conversations?
We had a few that we were posting
Okay.
on. But we never ended up going through any evictions. We either negotiated to get them out or they were on a payment plan. And so we've only this whole time, we've got now one tenant who's kind of ghosted us and is basically not responding, not making any effort to make a payment plan, et cetera, not really showing that they've been affected by the CARES Act, or sorry, by the COVID. So luckily I haven't had to go through any of those. And I talked with another property manager who luckily they got it fit in between the timeline before you had all the new legislation through. So yeah, good on that front. We've kind of got a few who have we've been trying to evict for stuff outside of rent. And so that kind of didn't really fall into this case.
And so when you started posting, was that what got people motivated to start paying then? Because they knew like, oh, I need to do something or I'll actually get evicted.
Yeah, when you see that on your door, that's when they'll typically reach out to us. And so, we're trying to work with them, trying to call. We're just putting our best foot forward there. But when they see something on their way, that's when they typically reach out, give us a payment plan. A lot of these people, it's if they lost their job, they're going through a lot of stuff, and maybe they don't want to face that conflict. Tough conversation to have, but we're willing to work with them, and so we'll bring that to our owner and kind of work something out, because at the end of the day, vacancy is expensive. Evictions, who knows how long they would take or if they would go through right now. And so working with the tenants once they bring that up has been very successful for us.
Great. And so you said some other ones like they're on payment plans, and other ones was it basically cash for keys?
Yeah, I think we offered cash for keys for a few, and then had a couple end up just moving out with the balance. So they would kind of stop responding, and then they'd let you know that they moved out. So that's okay. I mean, it is what it is. You'd like some notice to be able to release the unit. But this is, it's probably less than 10 that we've had out of all the tenants that we managed for.
Okay.
And so again, it's very normal. I mean, it's very normal. I mean, nothing kind of abnormal. I wouldn't really pull anything out that kind of COVID or the economic environment has really driven too much of that for us.
Okay. And how's the leasing looking in terms of like new leases, lease time, renewals, that type of stuff?
Yeah. It was crazy this summer. We were talking before, but it's just June and July are insane. I think every property manager felt it out here. August is still strong. Start to feel a drop off in September. Homes
Yeah.
sitting on the market a little bit longer, having to drop the price a little bit more aggressive, having less showings. We saw a dip in application. So it was kind of, I think, end of August, beginning of September is when it naturally drops off here. But there was a week where we felt the summer was over. And I was looking beforehand, I was looking at kind of all our outstanding properties on the market, and the ones towards the top of our list. So looking at days on market, they're more condos and, multifamily stuff. The single family stuff is typically flying off the market. So that kind of leads to the theory that people may be, kind of gravitating more towards that as well. And so still leasing properties, just we're trying to be a little bit more aggressive right now because we know coming up into October, November, December, the holidays, less people moving out here in Colorado with weather, that we're pushing to, get all the inventory that moved out at the end of the summer off the market.
Okay. And in terms of, like you said, the condos and multis are leasing up a little slower. Is that all across the metro area? Is that more like downtown centric?
Let's see. More downtown centric, and especially that Class A stuff. It's kind of a storyline. It still leases, but you just got to be a little bit more aggressive. We had to drop 2 units recently, just to try and get them filled. So more so kind of the downtown. That's where a lot of our, multifamily stuff is.
Is that like some the newer stuff?
Yeah, some of those
core
newer
downtown. Okay.
Yeah, some of the we got one of those. We got a unit over on California Street. I think we had to drop recently, which is kind of right in the middle of it. And stuff is leasing, but if it doesn't have parking, it makes it a lot more challenging. It's kind of got to be the right tenant for that stuff. So those are just you got to put special attention. You got to probably throw some promos out there, and it might take a little more effort to the lease than some of the single family stuff we've been throwing out.
Yeah, because I've talked to, we help a lot of house hackers buy properties, as you know, and I've had I don't know if it's a real thing or just me perceiving it this way, but I've had quite a few clients the last couple of months where, they're downtown near Coors Field, and they're like, yeah, I'm ready to buy a house hack. And they're like, yeah, I'm paying $18 a month in rent. Now I'm seeing the signs out front for $70 a month with 2 months free rent. And, they're not happy about it. And of course they talk to property managers like, well, no, your contract says that. But yeah, it sounds like that Class A stuff. It's from the clients I've talked to, a lot more concessions versus rent drops, maybe on like, the brand new stuff. But sounds like some pretty heavy concessions for that new stuff downtown.
Yeah, and you can look at it either way. Yeah, sometimes we'll offer a month free and kind of keep the rent up there. On Zillow, the eyeballs will go to it if you drop the rent down. So we've had to use that. So we use a combination of those.
Okay.
But at the end of the day, you kind of look at it a net number as an investor, and it's the same to you, but it's just marketing if you put something at $17.99. So using those strategies to get those leads. But yeah, some of that Class A stuff, there's one unit in particular that's just kind of sitting out there. And so we've had to drop that below what we were able to lease it for 2 years ago or a year ago.
And what type of property is that? Like just general location, like,
yeah,
class,
it was,
unit mix?
It's over on Inca Street. And it's like the kind of townhome, the 4-level townhome, like the 3-bed, 4-bath with the rooftop. So,
okay.
Yeah, we just having to drop it below, just be more aggressive on price.
Okay.
Which is wise. I would advise that at this point, just calculating the cost of vacancy. And so we're trying to advise that if stuff is not going, if people aren't seeing it, being aggressive with the price drops on that. Just vacancy is so expensive. And so going ahead and doing what you can to get somebody in there at a rate that makes sense now and potentially looking in the future. But I think that's why people like the rent concession, is because the rent bumps back up, and then that is your new threshold for whenever you renew, and you can do a 3 to 5% versus if you're, start lower, it's tougher to kind of get back up to that, the market rent.
Oh yeah. I never thought about that. Okay. Awesome. So what other just interesting data points, trends you're seeing? Like what's on your plate right now?
Started charging late fees again. So
tell that to me and listeners. I follow some of the rules, but obviously not like, you guys have to follow them, actually, play by them. I just kind of hear them or read the headlines. So tell us what's the latest is right now in those rules, because I don't know them yet.
Yeah. So we stopped charging early on. It was kind of the right, we just said, hey, this is the right thing to do. Going to help people out early March, April. And then legislation passed where we could not charge them. And that kind of got extended. So August, it was kind of a gray area, whether you could or could not charge them based on, we talked to our attorneys and they said, if it went to court, you may be okay, but some are choosing to hold off. So we did not charge in August. We charged in September, and then October. And I just looked at the most recent email from our attorney, and they gave us the green light. And so right now, what's on the horizon? So right now, you can charge them. What is on the horizon is there is a group that is pushing Governor Polis to implement no late fees for the rest of the pandemic. So I don't know what the timeline looks like, but there is a group of people who are advocating, I guess, on the tenant side. But certainly, wouldn't like to see that happen. I think it's good to have that leverage. We're obviously willing to work people not charging it for tenants who've been affected. But if tenants are just completely not, it costs a lot of manpower for us to chase these delinquencies. And so that's part of, why we collect late fees, is because we got to post and make phone calls and emails and work payment plans, et cetera.
So right now, right?
Climate, yeah, man hours.
Yeah.
So, the current climate is we can charge them, and we're just kind of keeping a pulse on it on a month-to-month basis and not holding on to it. But we charged them, charging this month, and we'll see what November happens, and we'll update y'all next month on kind of what the legislation is looking like right now.
Great. One final question for you, Gray. Now in the other markets that GK is in,
yep.
Are they kind of seeing similar like rent collection? Did they see a drop off because of the CARES Act unemployment going away?
Across the board, we are have lower vacancy. So we've got more units that are occupied. So less number of units that are turning. So more people are staying in units, and more people are paying time on rent than they have, previous data that we're looking at year over year. So across the board, we have not felt that drop off, which is really surprising. And we're a lot in the single family and then the small multi. We don't operate in the bigger multifamily space. That's a different ball game. So we're not operating the 1 to 2 to 300. So our data is kind of around that single family, small multi, which is a lot of what the people that you work with.
Yeah.
So super surprising. It hadn't dropped off in any of our markets. We've kind of got a pretty good segment. Some higher cost of living areas like Denver and Nashville, and then some more maybe investable markets. So the Birminghams and Chattanoogas, and Atlanta is a good mix of that. But across the board, it's very similar numbers to what we've got out here in Denver from collection and occupancy.
Interesting, because I've seen a few articles like the Wall Street Journal. I think it was earlier this week or maybe last week. They had a good article just talking about the they call it the K-shaped recovery now, or the K-shaped recession, not the V-shape, the K-shape, but just talking about basically, winners and losers.
Yeah.
And they're saying, one of the winners is just the Mountain West in general, the Denvers, the Salt Lakes, the Boise, Idahos, just because they've outdoor living, relatively affordable compared to like some of the coastal markets, San Francisco, New York, and those places.
Yeah.
And they said there's been a huge boom out there. So I was wondering, maybe because are we more insulated on the rent side than that? But it sounds like you're kind of seeing all the same stuff.
Yeah. No, yeah. Seeing very similar stuff in those markets.
Okay.
And we have seen an influx of people. Like I was looking the other day at Leasing, and I've seen some people who have guaranteed work from home status. And so they might move to Boulder, and they might want to sign a 6-month lease or a 7-month lease just to be out here. But we've got people moving from out of state, moving to Colorado. But yeah, which is exciting. I mean, it's good for us to be have that, especially kind of amidst everything going on. So that's interesting. I haven't really seen that about the Mountain West being necessarily shielded, but haven't really seen price drops as much. Like nothing to note, like nothing kind of shocking in the other markets. Very normal kind of market fluctuations for the time of year.
Awesome, great. I appreciate your time as always.
Awesome. Thanks for having us, Chris.
Thanks. And so, this is Gray with GK Houses. Link to their website will be in the show notes. You guys want to reach out and pick Gray's brand on anything. Thanks a lot, man.
All right. Thanks, Chris.